So we're going to start with the heavy chain stitch. So this one, we're going to work from the top of the line to the bottom. It's the easiest way to do it. We're almost working backwards of how you do a normal chain stitch. So I've just come a sort of stitch length down from the top of the line that I'm going to be working on. And I'm going to just come up. I've knotted my thread. This is actually just 6 ends of embroidery floss. Go back into where I've just come out, stitch length forward, wrap my thread behind, and then just put in a little stitch to anchor that one down. So it's almost like an individual lazy daisy stitch to start with. Then what I'm going to do is come again a stitch length down this way now. So we're going backwards. I might actually just go a tiny bit closer up for this first one. And now I'm taking the thread under that little bar stitch again. So what you'll actually have for your first part of the heavy chain stitch is 2 sort of chain stitches going through that one stitch there. And take that back in to the same hole. Then I'm going to come out a stitch length below again. And now what we're doing is not just going under the last stitch, but under the one above that as well. So your first lazy daisy now. So if I put my needle under there, it's not that one, it's this under that first lazy daisy stitch. So we're not going back into the bar stitch again, putting 3 in, it's just the one below that. So I'll just take that round, just weave it under there, and then go back in. And then I'll come a stitch length below, and then it's that same again. So it just drops down a stitch every time. It's not the last one where you've just created a lazy daisy, it's just the one above that. And then a stitch length below. I know that some people work this way of doing the chain stitch. We looked at the 2 ways of doing chain stitch on one of the other videos. This is just working back through it. So again, like I said, not through this one, through the one just above that. If it helps to sort of thread it through, use the blunt end of your needle as well to just take that through, come round and go back in there. And you can just tie off when you've finished your last stitch there. So that's the heavy chain stitch. So I'll just show you how to start this heavy chain stitch again from the beginning. So first thing we do is we come up. So if you have drawn a line, you're just doing a stitch length down from the end of your line there, because I'm going to go back in where I came out, come up a stitch length to the top of the line where I want to start, and just wrap my thread round. So we're just doing a individual lazy daisy stitch to start with. Anchor that down, so that's one little stitch there to start with. Then I'm going to come a stitch length down, and just for the first one, this sort of bar stitch here is mimicking sort of as if there was another lazy daisy stitch there as well. So I just go under that same little bar stitch that I've anchored the last stitch with and back in. So that's your sort of starting point for the heavy chain stitch there. Then what you do is you do a stitch length down, and now it's the same with every sort of stitch going forward. So it's not the last stitch above, it's the one above that. So the first lazy daisy I'm going under, and then I take that in there, and then I'm sort of not overly pulling this, so you can see how the stitch is sort of constructed, but you can do them a little bit closer together. And if I pull it a little bit more, it becomes more of a solid line. But just to show you on the video, it's easier to do it a bit further apart and not pull too tightly. So I've come out again a stitch below, and again you're not going under the last stitch, it's under the one above that, so it just staggers down one as the line goes on. So we're going to have a look now at twisted chain stitch. So this way we are working up the line rather than down it. So I've come out here from the back of my fabric, and instead of the normal chain stitch where you go in the same hole, we're just going slightly to the right of it here, just slightly above. And then I'm going to come up a stitch, and we're going to keep, if you keep your thread over to the left, we're going to take it over and wrap it over the needle like that. I'll pull that. So just to start that again there, I had a little bit of a tangle. So we've started at the bottom of our line, and I'm taking the thread in just next to it towards the right, a little way up, and I'm going to take the stitch length forward, and we're taking the thread from the left and wrapping it over the top of the needle. Give that a pull there. And now again, keep your thread over to the left, and rather than with normal chain stitch where you go back into the same hole, we're just going to the other side of the loop there, just a little way above, stitch length forward, and again taking the thread over and round. So you're creating a little twist on the stitch every time. So just over the top of the loop that you've just created, stitch length forward and take the thread over the needle. So we're just creating that little twist all the way up. So again, over the loop, stitch length forward and take the thread over and round. So the twist is coming from taking this stitch over to the right each time and then wrapping it over so it sort of crosses the chain stitch. So lastly today we're going to have a look at the wheatear stitch. So I've just drawn 2 parallel lines to get the chevrons sort of the even width apart there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out at the left hand side and come into the center at an angle here. So from the outside to the middle and then to the right hand side and back to the center. And then I'm coming up stitch length below there. And I'm taking the thread under those 2 chevron stitches and then back in there. That makes a little chain stitch. And then I'm going to come up to the left again at an angle back into that point, to the right hand side, and back into that point, and then down stitch. I'm going to take that round and under those last stitches there and back in. And then again out to the left, into the centre, right, and up, and then down, and round and under those last ones there. So I'll just show you the alternative way as well to do this wheatear. So I'm starting again with the 2 diagonal lines here. So left to the centre, right to the centre, and then a stitch length down and round and under those stitches. And then again to the left and back into the centre, and to the right, to the centre. And now a stitch length below, and now instead of going under all of the stitches there, if you use the blunt end of your needle, you're just going under, you can see there, those chevron, so over the top of the chain stitch in the centre. Just gives a slightly different look there. So left to the centre, right to the centre, and then stitch length below, and again use the blunt end of your needle and just going under the diagonal stitches but over the chain stitch there, and then take that back through to that point like that.